to chat with you. Big fan of this film. It's got so much classic horror feel and so much interesting kind of um, uh, I don't know. There is a lot of things I grew up with in the sense of like how we look at witchcraft and everything else. Now it's more about the idea of it than the flashiness or the characters and how good they look too. I mean, I'm surprised how much horror now I look at and I'm like, it feels like there's like a American Eagle ad in the middle of this horror movie at the same exact time. So I don't know why that is. I just kind of feel that sometimes too. So can you tell me about signing on to this project and really what made you excited to kind of take on Witchboard?
Well, I started my career in horror with Nightmare, Nightmare 3 Dream Warriors and The Blob, which were great fun. And they were both very successful. And suddenly I was getting nothing but horror scripts. So I really wanted to step out of horror for a while. And I come from comedy improv and I love action movies. I got to do all that. And I always meant to come back. I didn't mean to take this long. But I the pressure I put on myself was to top what I'd done before for the fans and for the international audiences. I just love to entertain people. And it wasn't until the Witchboard property came my way that I realized, okay, here's a classic piece of pop culture that deserves a remake. I'm never slavish. I really call them reinventions or reimaginings. It's the same thing I did on the Blob, and even with the Elm Street series with number three, we brought it in a new direction at the time. So I thought there's enough I can bring to this property to where it's a standalone film on its own with things I think the horror audiences have never seen before.
I would
And
agree with that.
timing is everything, so I thought, well, this is it.
Yeah, and it feels like it feels fun. I love evil objects and possessed objects. And I mean that's what we got up to. If I'm honest, growing up my VHS tapes all figured along these horror movies and these kind of feels too. But this feels also very new too in the sense of how we look at the characters and see what they're doing as well too. Can you tell me a little bit about adding this cast too? I know you had Madison already, but Aaron kind of came last minute into the fray. So can you tell me how this all worked out?
Well, we started really with Jamie Campbell Bower. I'd seen him in Stranger Things, and I thought this guy would be magnificent as Baptiste, and I wasn't disappointed. He's an amazing rising star, really. Jamie's a classic English actor, and I believe he can do anything. So you're going to see a lot more from Jamie Campbell Bower, including in Witchboard and an upcoming season of Stranger Things. Um, then and Madison had sent us a tape early. I knew who she was, but she showed us a scene, and I couldn't get over her interpretation of the character was spot on, and she brings a whole heart to it. An amazing, wonderful actress. It turned out Aaron Dominguez was in our casting search, and I liked him a lot. Then when we did the chemistry read with Aaron and Madison, they were excellent together. And I asked them, did they know each other? It turned out, by coincidence, they are part of the same friend group in LA. So they were friends already, and that I think some of that chemistry rolls over into the film.
I really did enjoy everything that came about between them as well. I enjoyed the back story that she was given as well. Having her own faults and everything as well too. So that was kind of a nice little thing too. So um, when it came to how you wanted to shoot this, was there a specific feeling or a specific thought about, I want this feel, I want these things here? I mean, there's a couple demon succubus moments, let's say, that kind of remind me a little of Nightmare for sure. And there was a couple things like that that really got me going in the horror realm. But what was there a specific feel to how you wanted to shoot this film?
I'm interested in a couple of things. First of all, uh, it's a horror film. It needed to be terrifying. So that was the number one thing. That to me has to do with starting from the script and the performances. It has to do with suspense, even in the camera moves. So, but I didn't want to do one of these desaturated films that I find very depressing. So I spoke with Yaron Levy, our DP, about this at length prior to our shooting, that I felt the film could be rich and in its own way colorful. We had a color palette I liked, but not glamorous or unreal. So we struck a balance. It's kind of a technical answer, but for me, it's striking a balance. So it's you feel like you're really there, and it's terrifying. But the young cast is at a point in their lives where we all have passed through that at that age, where your friend group is dissolving after in this case after college, um, and you go out into the world and you're trying your dreams. In this case, their dream is to open a restaurant in New Orleans. Turns out to be a very dangerous dream if you happen to have a witchboard. And we spin that out. So look, I wanted it to be a sensual film. I find there's a sensual side to the whole idea of Wicca. It's a very female power driven, um, I guess you'd call it a religion, and the mythology. So there is a sensuous side in this film that was informed how we shot it to some extent. So number one, we want to scare the hell out of the audiences, but for me as well, I wanted to show a sensual side, which is the attraction of the dark side, of being drawn into the dark side of Wicca.
So if I can ask, when it comes to horror these days, as someone who has gone through different flavors yourself, what do you think horror is doing right and wrong right now? There's always different flavors, there's always different things. Everyone steals from the greats. That's what we do in horror too, but everyone wants to have their own flavor of zombie or their own flavor of witch or their own flavor as well too, to put their mark. So where do you see horror these days, and how do you feel people are making their marks?
Well, first of all, shout out to my old pal Frank Darabont for launching the Walking Dead series and writing and directing and casting that set that series up. I thought he reinvented zombies since you mentioned him, and but Frank does films with heart. Going back to Shawshank, a trend in horror. Look, there's no good or bad. That's why I love cinema. I mean, I love cinema from all over the world. The interesting, relatively new twist in cinema are films that are a little more despairing in horror, where basically the good guys lose. And I think that's okay. I think horror should not have a happy ending. But for me, it's dramatizing the great cost of facing an evil. Uh, I personally think we're playing a game with the audience. There's a promise to the audience. You're going to be, we're going to dramatize an evil force. It's maybe a metaphor for the real evil forces in the world. Our heroes are going to have to face that evil force and how they might outwit it, or how they might draw the audience into imagining how they might outwit it in this scenario is what I'm fascinated with. So for me, when you kill everybody, including the final girl, it's less fun. It's almost lazy. It's like, okay, the bad guys win. That's not that challenging, and as you dramatize it, that's my personal taste. But I admire the despairing films. They're terrific. My favorite recent horror film that's getting big and glossy was Sinners. I thought it was terrific. They put dance and music into horror. That's brilliant. And it was a full scale, well-funded studio production. So it's healthy for horror to have movies like Sinners.
Yeah, I had a talk with someone recently too about the fact that heroes don't survive because they don't make franchises extend. It's always the evil. The evil, if the evil survives, then we can have more franchise, flicks coming forward too. So, there's only so many times we can follow, the kids from, let's say, I know what you did last summer before they're not kids anymore.
Right,
And
right.
it's
Well, this is why I say horror is the wrong genre for happy endings. On the other hand, I love the cat and mouse game between the protagonists, which are hopefully underdogs, and a greater force of evil.
I get that. I do want to ask you, I'd love to ask directors, in this movie, in this project, what was that one moment, that thing you were working towards, you were a little bit worried about, that when you shot it, when you got it, or you saw some sort of chemistry, you felt like that old Hollywood feeling of we've got a movie now. Do you remember what that was?
I certainly do. I don't want to give too big of a spoiler here, but there's a really important connection between Nagasoth, the Queen of Witches, played by Antonio Despa, who's an amazing French actress, um, and her connection with Madison Eisman's character. And to have that connection across time, I don't like flashback movies. So when I did my material about the original witch, it's a parallel storyline. Madison affects the witch's life, and the witch affects Madison's life. So it's not just a possession story. That moment where their lives cross, put it like that, was a very important visual moment to me. And Yaron, my DP, and I worked on it, and our great crew, and it rocks, frankly. I mean, it's I was very happy with how that came out, and I had never seen anything quite like it.
I do want to ask too. The Blob to me is one of those movies that I was perfect in every way. I remember it much like The Thing. There's certain films out there that kind of just hold true to me. Is there any movies out there that you kind of want to be, sacred in the sense that let's not touch this again. Let's
Oh
not
no, I
do this again.
look, I people call these remakes. I mean, I believe other people have done remakes, of course, but I wouldn't do Witchboard or The Blob if they didn't sort of deserve a remake. I mean, both the originals were very low budget, and and it's from a certain time period, and I thought I could explode both films. So I didn't want to come in here unless I had something really big and original to offer audiences from it. So I think a lot of films are sacred. I wouldn't touch some of my favorite films or remake